all of these hearings was the United States Capitol attacked on January 6th. And for months, these nominees have waffled, they've repeated a script from the White House, they have ducked and dodged, and they have failed to acknowledge a simple truth, that in fact, the Capitol was attacked on January 6, 2021. And for people who may wonder why it's important for them to answer truthfully and accurately, it is the president's myth that, in fact, the attack on the Capitol was an event. He calls it an innocent journey, and he has championed the January 6th rioters who attacked not only the Capitol as a physical structure, they attacked Capitol Police on that day. Law enforcement officers were beaten, dragged, debased, and degraded. To fail to acknowledge these facts is fundamentally disrespectful to law enforcement, who stood between us and the mob on January 6th. It's also fundamentally disqualifying. It should be disqualifying for any nominee to fail to answer that basic question in a way that respects law enforcement. Judge Anna St. John was one of those nominees who failed to answer truthfully and accurately when she was before our committee as a nominee for the district court. She refused to answer, saying, and I'm quoting, "It would be inappropriate as a judicial nominee to weigh in on these political controversies." It isn't a political controversy to speak the truth. It is fundamentally required that a nominee demonstrate independence from the President of the United States. Otherwise, we're all in jeopardy of the kind of baseless lies and loyalties to an autocrat that is a danger to our democracy. If a judicial nominee cannot answer that basic question, refuses to speak the truth to power now, there is no guarantee that they will be independent on the bench and provide real justice to the American people. So I will be asking those same questions again of Anna St. John and demonstrating, hopefully this time, that she will speak the truth. Otherwise, she should be voted down for this advancement to another position. I'll just add, she's already a district court judge. She has a lifetime appointment. It can't be taken away from her, no matter how vindictive Donald Trump may be and how much he is angry at her for speaking the truth. She has that guarantee. If she cannot answer truthfully now, she deserves to be voted down. And so do other nominees who will be before us today if they cannot speak the truth. One of the most valued of my colleagues on the Judiciary Committee is Sheldon Whitehouse, who has been a prosecutor, as I have been United States Attorney and State Attorney General, so he speaks with particular authority on this topic, and I'm proud to have him with us today.
Thank you, Dick. Well, I've been a U.S. attorney anyway. It's the assistant U.S. attorneys who are the real prosecutors, as everybody knows. What Senator Blumenthal said is also true of attorneys general. It is part of an attorney general's rule to speak truth to power. That's a role that they should live up to. Here's what I said to Todd Blanche about his role regarding January 6. You have refused to exclude January 6 rioters from your anti-weaponization fund. You have refused to put in writing that the slush fund is dead. Indeed, you signaled to allies that payouts are still on track. You have vacated seditious conspiracy convictions against members of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. You hired January 6 rioter, Jared Wise, who had urged the mob to kill police officers. You scrubbed press releases about the January 6 prosecution and called the releases partisan propaganda. You denied that Trump encouraged any violence on January 6. You've cleaned house of every attorney who worked on a case related to Trump, and you've bragged justice for violent rioters meant that every one of them was either pardoned or had their sentence commuted. So what was his response to that? His response was to, under oath, falsely state that each and every one of those statements was false, and indeed suggest that I was lying. Well, we had a way to resolve that, which was through questions for the record. So in writing, we asked these questions one by one of him in questions for the record. And he had to concede that I was right about every single one, except he cavilled about the word bragging. He said it, but was he bragging? That's the kind of stuff that we are dealing with it now, in which you have to bend the knee to Trump politically in order to get access to jobs where bending the knee to Trump politically ought to be a disqualifying factor, not a qualification. So thank you, Senator Blumenthal, for your work to persistently keep after this, and I'm delighted that our career prosecutors are here.
We're going to be hearing first from Michael Romano, then Brendan and Sean.
Thank you very much, Senators, and I want to thank you both for keeping this issue in front of the public and pressing Trump's judicial nominees on the truth about the 2020 election and about January 6th. My name is Michael Romano. I was a prosecutor at the Department of Justice for almost 20 years before I resigned. And for 4 of those years, I worked every day to prosecute crimes arising out of the riot at the Capitol on January 6th. The fact of the matter was, the riot was an attack on our democracy. It was an attempt to stop the peaceful transfer of power. It was an attempt to install the loser of the 2020 election back in office against the will of the American people. I know this because the evidence was overwhelming, and it's not something you needed to be a prosecutor to do my job to understand. This all happened on camera. The rioters bragged about it. They were very open about their goals until they were caught, faced accountability, and needed to lie to try to get out of accountability. The evidence was so clear that the judges who presided over our trials and sentenced these defendants said so over and over again. They recognized that the riot was an attack on American democracy. They recognized how damaging it was to our institutions. They commented about how political violence was unacceptable and sentences were needed to deter future political violence. All told, the evidence was so clear that we convicted more than 1,200 people of offenses that happened at the Capitol on January 6th before Trump pardoned them all. Now, these people were convicted before Republican and Democratic judges. They were sentenced before Republican and Democratic judges. Judges appointed by any president of any party recognized the truth of what this day was. And anybody seeking a position on the bench now should be able to do the same. They should be able to tell the truth. This is not a political issue. It is not something that members of either party should have trouble with. It has only become an issue because Donald Trump insists people lie or not tell the truth about what happened that day. We all deserve better. We deserve better from our judges. We deserve better from people who are going to hold positions of trust in the United States, who are going to preside over important cases that affect Americans' lives. We deserve better, and if nominees can't answer basic questions about January 6th, they should be voted down. Thank you very much, Senator.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you so much to Senators Blumenthal and Whitehouse for their relentless reminders that this is not normal. My name is Sean P. Murphy, and as a former federal prosecutor with the Department of Justice, I spent 4 years prosecuting cases related to the violent and reprehensible attack on our democracy that took place on January 6, 2021. To the senators voting on these nominees today, please stop poisoning our courts by confirming appointees who refuse to admit basic historical truths. This is not a problem of perspective or political persuasion. It is a fundamental question of competence. We would no more hire a school teacher who refuses to believe in fractions or a mechanic who won't admit that gas goes in a gas tank than you should confirm someone to a lifetime seat on the bench who cannot admit that Donald Trump lost and who refuses to recognize that those who assaulted police officers at the U.S. Capitol were wrong to do so. To the judicial nominees currently playing this game, if successful, you may have won yourself a lifetime appointment, but you have lost a lifetime of credibility. Every time you try to lecture a defendant from your bench about the need to choose the right and the just over the easy and the self-serving, those words will ring hollow. Why? Because the only reason you are sitting there is because you chose the easy and the self-serving. You traded a piece of your soul to occupy the seat. You will tell yourself that it was a small price, but the cost will be your credibility. We need judges who do not just dole out justice, but who actually live it. Justice is blind, but it is not ignorant, and the ignorant can never truly be just. To the American people, storms do not last forever. Everything that is most ugly and scary about what is now happening will someday be over. We will get through this. But while we are yet in the middle of the storm, we must unite in our calls to our senators to stop confirming election and January 6th denying judicial nominees. I conclude with the final words from my resignation letter. May they serve as a reminder, an admonition, and a plea. You serve no man. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brennan Ballou. Like Mike and Sean, I'm a former federal prosecutor involved in the prosecutions of former January 6 rioters. I'll just be very brief and talk about why this matters, not just for remembering the past, but for remembering the future, preparing for the future as well. We have a president right now that has already tried to subvert one election in 2020. And it is obvious, the evidence is overwhelming that he's planning to do so again. Both the midterms that are coming up in a few months and the presidential election in 2028. We see this by the fact that the president is trying to federalize the checking of voter rolls. We see it by the fact that he is trying to eliminate birthright citizenship. We see it by the fact that just yesterday, his Department of Justice deployed, quote unquote, monitors to polling places in Michigan. So we have a president that's trying to subvert future elections. We also have an attorney general, acting attorney general, soon to be confirmed, presumably, as attorney general, who is eager to carry out the president's agenda. We see that in the fact that Todd Blanche has oversaw the prosecution of Donald Trump's political enemies, by the fact that he has dismantled the basic infrastructure for going after white-collar criminals, that he has dissembled and delayed in the production of the Epstein files, among so much else. So we have a president that's trying to subvert a future election. We have an acting attorney general that is eager to help in that effort. And the danger that we face with these judicial nominees is that future court cases that will determine whether our democracy continues may be people who deny the reality of January 6th. Think about how dangerous it is. Think about how scary it is to have a court case about voting rights, about democracy, about the rule of law, prosecuted by Todd Blanche and overseen by one of these judges who denies the reality of what happened that day. So it's important to be talking about this. It is important that these judges not be confirmed if they refuse to acknowledge the reality of January 6th, not just for the sake of historical memory, but for the sake of our future, of our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. I am really grateful to three of our most distinguished federal prosecutors who are among 12 who have written today a very powerful letter, almost as powerful as your remarks here. And I really thank you for your eloquence and your dedication to the rule of law. It's a real model for all of us. I think we're happy to take any questions if there are any. And yes.
How many judges are we speaking about that are basically in line for confirmation that haven't answered the questions that you're looking for?
We can get you that number. It has been all of the judges since the beginning of this second Trump administration. We can get you the exact number. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. You really great.